Every story in the Bible can be better understood through the lens of Christ and the gospel. But one of the most famous ones, for example, is David and Goliath. So if all you've got is the story of little David killing the giant, the message that you probably come away with is something like, face the giants in your own life and use the 5 stones of prayer, Bible reading, meditation, et cetera, in order to slay these big problems in your life. If you understand, though, the place of David and Goliath, first in the narrative of the Old Testament and then in the narrative of the whole Bible, it takes on a whole different character and meaning. Because what's going on in that story is not David just facing down a giant in his life. The big question behind that story is, who is the true king of Israel? There's been this struggle going on, this tension in the narrative about whether Saul really is the king of Israel and whether he's going to be a good one, and if he's not a good one, who's going to replace him? And the real narrative tension in the story of David and Goliath is that when Israel comes to its moment of greatest need, the king, who was actually supposed to be appointed precisely to fight the people's battles, is actually cowering in his tent because he's scared of the giant. And then here comes this little shepherd boy who comes in and says, well, I'm here, and I, in the power of the Lord, am the one who's going to go out and fight your battle, O Israel. And so there's this heightened tension then about, well, who's the real king of Israel? Is it Saul, or is it the little guy who's actually functioning as the king of Israel? Well, as that narrative plays out, you find out in the Gospels as the story unfolds, well, that it's actually Jesus who winds up fighting and winning the greatest, most dangerous battle that Israel faces, which is against her sin and against Satan. So the great question of who is the king of Israel gets answered in glory at the very end. Well, it's not Saul. He's cowering in his tent. It's not even David, because things play out in his own life. It's Jesus, and he wins the battles at the very end.